Good morning. The first item of business is general questions, and at question number 1 I call Gordon MacDonald.
To ask the Scottish Government how Scotland's recorded crime rate compares with other areas of the UK.
Cabinet Secretary Angela Constance.
Presiding Officer, Scotland's recorded crime statistics cannot be compared to the rest of the UK due to the different counting and classification systems used to produce the data. However, with a 40% fall in recorded crime across Scotland since 2006-07, including a 74% fall in housebreaking and a 68% fall in the theft of a motor vehicle, the long-term trend is clear. Crime surveys can provide some comparisons with the latest findings suggesting that in both Scotland and England and Wales, around 1 in 10 adults experience violent and property crimes. This has fallen significantly for both jurisdictions since 2008-09.
Gordon MacDonald.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer, and I also welcome that recorded crime has halved since 1991. But what impact will the £25 million increase in national insurance by the UK Labour Government have on Police Scotland?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, as this Government and indeed this Parliament has repeatedly made clear, the UK Government decision to increase employer national insurance contributions will have a major impact on all sectors, with the hike likely to result in higher costs, job losses and increased prices. The impact will also be felt by our frontline public services like Police Scotland, and we estimate this change could add over £700 million in costs for public sector staff, and the Treasury must fully fund the actual costs for Scotland's public sector and not just give a much lower value Barnett's share of spending in England.
Liam Kerr.
Given the reports that up to a quarter of crimes go unreported, with over 215,000 101 calls discontinued between January and July 24, and that since 2013 over 140 police stations and 100 police counters have closed, and there are nearly 1,000 fewer police officers in 2020, with the Aberdeen pilot to not investigate all crimes extended across Scotland, is the Cabinet Secretary investigating what impact these facts have on recorded crime rates, or are simplistic comparisons to other parts of the UK simply easier?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, Presiding Officer, I have no interest in making simplistic comparisons, but it is important that we focus on the facts and actually the strength of the Scottish Crime and Justice Survey is that it both captures not just recorded crime but also the experience of crime, and therefore it is testimony to the hard work of Police Scotland and indeed other parts of the justice system that there has been a significant fall in reports of victimisation from around 20% to the current reports of around 1 in 10.
Thank you. Question number 2, Miles Briggs.
To ask the Scottish Government, in light of the potential impact on state schools of the UK Government's decision to make independent schools liable for VAT, how it plans to use any Barnett consequential funding resulting from this decision to support state schools.
Cabinet Secretary Jenny Gilruth.
Formula does not entitle Scottish Government to consequentials raised under reserve powers. Block grant changes are calculated by reference to UK Government spend in devolved areas. UK Government previously had indicated that this VAT revenue would be ring-fenced and applied to the Department of Education budget to increase teacher numbers in England. HM Treasury has now advised that there is no ring-fencing to this revenue, while the autumn budget contained additional funding to the Department for Education, which led to Barnett consequentials. I am not able to confirm the proportion which has been funded by VAT on school fees.
Can I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that answer? This is becoming a growing concern here in Edinburgh, particularly. The Cabinet Secretary, in response to me, has shown that already 79 pupils have enrolled from the independent sector into the state sector. In response to the Education Committee, she gave us details that around 40% of all pupils attending independent schools in Scotland are here in Edinburgh. Can I ask, if we do finally get clarification from the UK Government over Barnett consequentials, if she will commit that 40% of this funding will go to Edinburgh City Council, which will be the largest impacted council?
Cabinet Secretary.
I thank the member for his interest in this matter. We did discuss it very recently at the Education and Skills Committee, and of course I responded to a parliamentary question on this, a written question, yesterday, which gave the detail that the member has alluded to today. And I think in response to the member, I've been very clear that the distribution methodology we use in terms of our funding to local government will take into account the issues the member has raised. I recognise that this issue is particularly pertinent in Edinburgh City Council because of the number of pupils within this area that attend the private school sector. So I hope the member takes some comfort from my response today, but I apologise I'm not able to give him that granular detail he asked for me in his original response because of the decisions taken by the UK Government.
Brief supplementary, Audrey Nicholl.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can the Cabinet Secretary perhaps outline how the budget for 25-26 is already earmarked to provide support for state schools, specifically how the Scottish Government is supporting the recruitment of additional teachers, which is a significant issue in my constituency?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, the 25-26 Scottish Budget provides record block grant funding of over £15 billion for local government, an increase of £1.1 billion or 5.5% in real terms when compared to 24-25. And of course, the 25-26 local government finance settlement also includes an extra £186.5 million to increase teacher numbers to 23 levels and a further £28 million of funding for the additional support for learning workforce. There's also an additional £1 million which has specifically been earmarked to help support national initiatives which will help to recruit and train more ASL teachers, including, of course, in the member's constituency.
Thank you. Brief supplementary, Pam Duncan-Glancy.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. The UK Government have increased funding for the Department of Education by much more than what the VAT policy is raising, meaning Scotland is getting Barnett consequentials worth more than just the VAT policy. And this week, NAS UWT published research showing worrying increases in incidences of violence in school, and that 62% of respondents weren't aware of the Government's national plan on this. So can I ask the Cabinet Secretary, will she use some of the increased funding to implement commitments set out in her National Action Plan?
Cabinet Secretary.
The increased funding to which the member alludes to was included in the Scottish Government's budget. As I have just outlined in my response to Ms Nicholl, that's £186.5 million to increase teacher numbers back to 2023 levels and an extra £29 million for additional support needs in our schools to help, for example, in the recruitment of additional support needs teachers, which of course can help in responding to some of the challenge the member has set out today. I do not understand how, on the one hand, the member can come to the Chamber today and praise this additionality coming to the Scottish Government, and her party have then taken a decision to not vote in favour of the Scottish Government budget, which delivers on the challenge put out in the NASWIT report.
Thank you. Question number 3, Carol Mockin.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government what its response is to the reported view of the Children and Young Persons Commissioner Scotland that proposed changes to legislation on religious observance diverged from the recommendation by the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child to allow young people to independently opt out of religious observance at school.
Cabinet Secretary.
As the First Minister noted in the Chamber last week, we have consulted with a wide range of stakeholders on changes to legislation on religious observance and religious and moral education in schools, with the public consultation having closed on the 26th of January. We recognise there are a wide range of views on this topic, and Ministers will of course continue to discuss these issues with Parliament and other interested parties. We will consider all responses to the consultation and publish a consultation analysis report in due course, as well as outlining next planned steps.
Carol Mockin.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for the answer. The 2022 census found that over 60% of school-aged children in Scotland now identify as non-religious. In an increasingly secular and religious diverse country, it is critically important that young people of all faiths and none have their beliefs and choices respected in school. Parents have always had the right to opt their children out of religious observance, which all state schools are legally required to provide, but pupils have no equivalent right, no matter their age, maturity or personal beliefs. Therefore, given the Cabinet Secretary's answer, can I ask for some clarity on timeframes around when we might get this information, and is it her view that we should conform to the UN Committee's recommendations?
Cabinet Secretary.
Well, of course, the legislative changes that are being proposed in the consultation are going to strengthen the rights of children and young people in Scotland, which I think is the point the member is alluding to, and I'm very supportive of that. But it also builds on our commitment in relation to the UNCRC. Existing guidance that the member has also alluded to encourages schools to discuss the question of opting out of religious observance with both parents and with children. The member will understand that the consultation analysis has not yet published. I'd be more than happy to write to her with the associated timescales with that consultation in due course once I've received that advice from my officials.
Brief supplementary from Willie Coffey.
Thank you. Can the Cabinet Secretary just outline how the Scottish Government is ensuring children's rights are incorporated across our education system?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, we are committed to upholding the rights of children and young people across Scotland and supporting public authorities to understand and fulfil their UNCRC duties, including in our education system. In May 2022, we awarded UNICEF UK a 3-year grant to support them to raise awareness of children's rights across the majority of Scottish schools through their Rights Respecting School Award. And I was very pleased yesterday to visit Glenrothes High School in my own constituency to see the impact that that award at gold level in Glenrothes High School is having on the rights of children in that school in Fife.
Brief supplementary, Patrick Harvey.
Thank you. If we believe in the principle of religious freedom, surely it's very clear that any pupil who's mature enough to decide that they are not a believer should not be required to go through a pretence of religious observance. In analysing the consultation responses, can the Cabinet Secretary assure us that she'll give due regard to the views of young people who want to make this perfectly reasonable choice for themselves?
Secretary.
Yes, of course, I recognise the views of the member. It's important that we balance those views accordingly. I am also mindful there are a range of different views on this topic, and as I alluded to, I think in my response to Ms Mochan, I will give due consideration to those views once I've received the consultation analysis and can set out more detail in relation to the timescales associated.
Thank you. Question number 4 is not lodged. At question number 5, I call Emma Harper.
To ask the Scottish Government which steps it's taken to support increased levels of sport and physical activity in Dumfries and Galloway.
Minister Marie Todd.
We are working in partnership with Public Health Scotland, Sport Scotland and colleagues in Dumfries and Galloway to identify evidence-based actions based on our physical activity for health framework, which will improve levels of physical activity in the area. Sport Scotland has provided $424,000 to Dumfries and Galloway Council this year to support its Active Schools programme, community sport hubs, community cycling and coaching. Recent investment of £880,000 has been delivered through Sport Scotland Sports Facilities Fund and Cycle Facilities Fund, and £845,000 has been awarded via the Transforming Scottish Indoor Tennis Fund to construct a new indoor facility in Dumfries.
Emma Harper.
Thank the Minister for that answer. I was pleased to hear of recent announcements which encourage a higher uptake of physical activity for my constituents in the area, particularly the creation of the Stranraer Water Sports Hub, expected to open in 2026, and the new indoor tennis courts development at the King George V complex in Dumfries. Will the Minister join me in welcoming these significant investments to the sports sector in Dumfries and Galloway, and would she consider joining me to visit both sites to see the marked improvement that this will make for local people?
Minister.
Absolutely welcome these significant facilities investments, and both of these developments will have such a positive impact on the local community, providing more and better opportunities to be physically active either on the water or on a tennis court, and I'd be absolutely delighted to visit both sites to see the positive impact firsthand.
Question number 6, Stuart McMillan.
And also to ask the Scottish Government when it last discussed the future of Greenock Police Station with Police Scotland.
Cabinet Secretary Angela Constance.
Presiding Officer, I last discussed the police estate with the Chief Constable in January when we discussed Police Scotland's estate master plan, which sets out their plans to modernise the police estate to ensure it best serves communities and the Police Scotland workforce and is fit for the future. Despite unprecedented challenges to public finances for 2025-26, we will increase the police capital budget to £75 million, an increase of over £10 million, and this capital increase will support Police Scotland to commence delivery of its estate master plan, which will deliver a modern fit-for-purpose estate that best serves the needs of communities and the policing workforce.
Stuart McMillan.
I thank the Cabinet Secretary for that reply, and it's well documented that the Greenock Police Station is well past its sell-by date. The facility is no longer fit for purpose, and the volume and cost of repairs will only continue to grow. Whilst acknowledging there is no question about the future of a replacement police station in Greenock, there is no firm commitment with regards to replacing the custody suite, which is absolutely crucial. And can I ask the Cabinet Secretary if she received any assurances that any new Greenock Police Station will have a custody suite?
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, it's a very important point that Mr Macmillan raises in and around the provision of custody suites and their location in his locality and across Scotland. Can I assure him that Police Scotland's initial work on its estate master plan has identified Glasgow and the west of Scotland are priority areas for further work, and they are currently undertaking detailed work to understand the property requirements, and this will include custody facilities across these communities to ensure that they can continue to deliver effective policing.
Time is tight. A brief supplementary, Jamie Green.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Can I endorse the comments by Mr Macmillan? Police Scotland wrote to me 2 years ago to say that they were considering a replacement for Greenock Police Station. It is now needed more than ever. Last year, common assault was up 10%, violent crime was up 7% and domestic abuse was up 20% in the Inverclyde area. So surely the Cabinet Secretary can see the need to get some action on this quickly.
Cabinet Secretary.
Presiding Officer, let me assure the member that no decision has been taken on the future of Greenock Police Station at this time, and this will be considered as part of the delivery of the wider Police Scotland Estates Master Plan. I'm aware of the consultation, very important consultation, that has been held with respect to services in Greenock. That consultation has now closed, and the results of that consultation, I can assure members, remain under review, and in January last year, the divisional commander across Renfrewshire and Inverclyde certainly attended Inverclyde's Council's police scrutiny panel to discuss the details, and I'm sure that members will be kept informed on these very important matters.
Question number 7, Evelyn Tweed.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. To ask the Scottish Government how it will work with NHS to ensure that infrastructure is in place to meet demand for adult ADHD and autism assessments in light of reports that NHS Forth Valley has closed its service.
Minister Marie Todd.
I recognise that the significant increase in adults seeking ADHD and autism assessments across Scotland is creating challenges for services. However, a diagnosis can be crucial to receiving the right support, and I expect this situation to be resolved at the earliest opportunity. My officials are liaising with NHS boards across Scotland, including in Forth Valley, to understand what provision they have in place and are exploring how to address current issues.
Tweed.
I thank the Minister for that answer. My constituent Jake has struggled with his mental health for many years. A CAMHS professional suspected ADHD, however, no formal diagnosis was forthcoming. Jake finally got a private diagnosis of ADHD, but now can't access NHS support. To ask the Scottish Government what pathways and support are available to those in this position.
Minister.
As I said, we're working with local health bodies to improve services and support. The General Medical Council's good practice guidance on shared care advises that decisions about who should take responsibility for continuing care or treatment after initial diagnosis or assessment should be based on the patient's best interest. It is at the clinical discretion of each individual GP to decide the best course of action for their patients, and whilst a recommendation from a private specialist does not entitle the patient to NHS prescriptions for that medicine, medication can be considered as part of the shared care agreement. I must say I am concerned that GPs sometimes do face pressure to prescribe when the assessment is sufficient, but the patient's moving to NHS and has not yet been accepted into the NHS psychiatry side of the shared care agreement. And the challenge is if the monitoring
please, Minister.
If the monitoring requirements made by a private provider differ from the NHS recommendations, that leaves the GP prescriber in a very difficult and potentially unsafe situation.
Thank you. A concise question 8, Colin Beattie.
To ask the Scottish Government whether it will provide an update on Action 20 of the Housing to 2040 strategy to streamline and accelerate the adaptation system.
Mr Paul McLennan.
We are taking forward a review of the current housing adaptation system to consider how the process can be streamlined and made easier for people who need adaptations. We are also continuing to provide support to help registered social landlords meet their responsibilities to deliver housing adaptations. The 2025-6 budget will more than double the budget for this to £20.9 million.
Colin Beattie.
I thank the Minister for that answer. I was pleased to take part in last week's members' business debate on protections for park home residents, where I raised the issue of park homes being exempt from financial help towards home adaptations, as per the Housing Scotland Act. Can the Minister please advise what steps the Scottish Government will take to improve protections for park home residents?
Minister.
We are committed to making sure that park home residents have appropriate rights and protections. The Adaptations Review will consider funding and legislation, including the situation for mobile homes. In addition, the Housing Scotland Bill proposes a change in the basis for pitch fee updating from RPI to CPI. I also intend to engage with local authorities to remind them of their powers in relation to site licensing, with Ofgem to raise issues faced by park home residents in relation to oil, and the UK Government to highlight the impact of mis-selling mobile homes on Scottish consumers.